I had an NDE back in 2007, and I was ordered by God to write a book about my visit there.
It's amazing.
Bless your water.
Definitely.
Pray for your water, and that it goes back into the earth as the perfection of love that it was actually created by. The problem with humanity. You never change unless you're directly affected.
Hello, spiritual friends, and welcome to another episode of Life Ascended, where we focus on our divine potential every day. And I am so excited to be bringing this beautiful guest who is with me in person here in Sedona. This is Megan Brown, who is our heavenly ambassador, and she is going to be co-authoring the book, The Ways to God, which is coming out at the end of June. So if you're interested in learning more about Megan and all the beautiful people who talk about how we can reach our divinity and how can we connect to God, this is going to be a beautiful collaboration. So I'm really excited to be working on this project with Megan. And I want her to introduce herself as well, because she has some really interesting books that she's writing and has written, and also her background, which we're going to talk about on the show today. So thank you for coming on the show, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your books that you've already written and what it is that how did you become an ambassador for heaven?
I know, right? What a title. But it's funny because so first I'll start off with the books. And I had an NDE back in 2007, and I was ordered by God to write a book about my visit there.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I did. I had no way around that. I was not a writer, although going way, way back, I actually wanted to be a writer.
Yes, and you have a writer's fork on your hands too.
I had no idea until you informed me of that. Yes.
So that's fun.
Yeah. So I wrote that book. It's called A Catalyst, My 5 Days in Heaven. And the next book that I wrote was actually during my divorce, when I was, what is my mission? I know I've been to heaven. I know I've seen all these souls. And I was just in one of the darkest times of my life. And during a meditation one morning, because I would just meditate a lot, like a lot extra. Okay. And heaven told me, write about love every day. And I said, I'm not feeling very loving right now. And they said, we don't care. That's all they are.
Yeah, no, they don't care. They want you to do whatever they want you to do.
Exactly. So I wrote about love, which is heaven. Same thing. I wrote about love every day. And some days it was just a paragraph, some days it was 9 pages. And I finally, after 2 years of writing, I just let it all be on the side. But then I thought, wait, this is all love. It's all about love. So I published that book, and it's called Love's Recipes. But it's all positive.
Yeah.
It's finding love in even the toughest times.
We sure need that, especially these days.
I know, it's true.
Yeah.
It's very true. And I'm working on another book right now called, besides the one we're co-authoring, I'm working on another book called The Structure of Love. And that was described to me from my meditations and my heavens visit, where it's the acronym of love and what it actually means, because nobody on earth knows this information. So I'm bringing in heaven's messages of love and intertwining it with water, because I got woken up really early in the morning very recently while I was in Hawaii, and they started giving me information about water. And then I didn't have time to meditate. I was too busy hiking the volcano and stuff, but I was like, okay. But I came home and I got woken up again, and then again, and it was all about water. Everything was about water. So they weave together both worlds, land and water.
Yeah.
Everything is around love. So that's the next one that I'm working on.
Wow, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been getting the dolphin messages lately, like huge.
Mm.
I've been instructed to meditate with the dolphin tones and dolphin music, and it's an interesting frequency because I often work with the solfeggio tones or the planetary healing tones, and the dolphins also have a really unique sound when you listen to them through their sonar or whatever they do. It's really cool, but it's so fun. And yeah, the frequencies that run through water, I love to talk a little bit about that too, because of course, who was it that wrote that book, The Messages from Water? That was Masaru Emoto, and he was really the first one to like document how water changes its molecular structure based upon how you talk to it and communicate with it.
Yes.
So for anybody who hasn't read that book or studied that, and I test this out all the time, by the way, I have a bouquet of roses and I will just put love into the water of the roses. And I had my bouquet last like an entire month.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because I did that every single day. I said, I love you, and I just put my hands around the vase. And that's what I said to it. And I'm like, let's see how long it stays blooming. And they lasted way longer than they normally, especially roses. They don't last that long.
No, they don't. Wow.
So
That's so neat.
that's good confirmation that this stuff really works.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. And there was another doctor, I can't even think of his name right now, but I used some of his information as well in my book around water. And he was giving another aspect of how water responds
Yeah.
and responds to words and
Mhm.
responds to the environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe I wrote the environment one. I know I wrote the environment one, but I think he also touched upon it.
Mhm.
And it's just absolutely now my mission to tell everybody, bless your water.
Definitely.
Pray for your water. Pray for all of the water that goes through your drains, your showers, your faucets from wherever, and that it goes back into the earth as the perfection of love that it was actually created by.
Wow.
So, yeah, I do that now. And I pray for the oceans, all of the water on this planet,
Yeah.
because the water, believe it or not, is a mirror to us.
Yeah, I think everything is a mirror. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And water is very alive. It's very alive. And I don't know, other than Dr. Emoto and this other doctor that I can't think of his name, I don't know of anybody who's, trying to inform others about the significance of water. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Are you ready to unlock your true potential and embrace a life filled with unconditional love and inner peace? Introducing the Diamond Heart Emotional Ascension Program, a transformative journey designed to help you heal deep emotional challenges and rediscover your authentic self. In just 3 months, you'll learn to identify emotional blocks from your very own hands that have been holding you back and release them vibrationally. Rewire limiting patterns with tools from higher dimensional realms. Activate your diamond heart, aligning with divine intelligence and embracing self-love. Guided by spiritual mentor Cynthia Clark, this course offers a pathway to emotional freedom and higher self-expression. Don't wait to start your journey toward profound inner peace. Visit ascension17.com/courses to enroll in the Diamond Heart program today. Your ascension begins with the heart. And now back to the episode.
So let's talk a little bit about I know everybody's going to want to hear about your experiences in heaven. I know I am fascinated by that. So what did you learn when you were over there? What did you experience?
Well, there's so much that I experienced, it would take hours. But I will say this, there were a few messages that I want to speak to. One is the first order that God gave me. Now, mind you, I was an atheist when I got there of 18 years. So I didn't know any of this was going to happen. So the first order that God gave me was to tell everyone acceptance is synonymous with love. So I've been telling everyone in
Okay.
everything that I'm doing, because that is such a huge, it's not that complex, but it does get into the psychology and emotions of your life, because you have to accept everything, both good and bad.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, you really do, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to correct ourselves. And as we are correcting ourselves and falling into the alignment with love, then we're clearing past lives. But there's also the aspect that Archangel Michael told me last year, was that not everything is karmic. Some of it is about us working for heaven. So they place us in situations to give the person or people that we are interacting with, in whatever circumstance or situation, we give them the opportunity to behave in love. We're already love.
Yeah.
And so that's not a karmic thing.
Yeah,
So
sure.
he told me, he said, you're working for heaven.
That to me makes a lot of sense when I look at the palm portals, because there's a palm portal for karmic neutralization, that's left Saturn. And then there's a portal of karmic, not karmic, but the portal of chosen work and duties. And so I would consider right Saturn to be, you're choosing this work with your free will, and you're listening to your guides or whatever it is you're doing, and you're accepting it, and you're saying, okay, yep, I'll do that. I'll take that on. And yeah, you're right. That's not karmic. It's completely unrelated.
Yeah. And so when I heard that for the first time, I thought, wow, that makes even more sense, because not every situation is karmic. It is actually a response to what is happening. And I can give you an example. So while I was sitting with Jesus, we had to watch, this wasn't one of the things I wanted to tell you, but we're talking about karma and how trying to explain this, like how we are just a part of being love, and watching somebody else or people in a negative manner come at us. So what I mean by that is, when Jesus and I were sitting together in heaven, I had to watch, it was like a life review, except it was a world review. I'd had my life review. And so it's basically a big TV screen. And what I had to watch first was the Native Americans being slaughtered. They were the only people here in the United States in the 1100s. And I remember crying, and I remember how tragic this was. And I just remember, and I've written about it in my book, but I just remember how difficult it was to watch that people could just come in from Europe and go, yeah, I want this land. I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to get rid of you, and you're not going to be an issue. And so it was so painful to watch this. Then the next thing that I had to watch was the Holocaust. And that was so incredibly tragic for obvious reasons. And we have pictures of that. And we have film of that, or recorded history of that. I continued to cry. And the last piece of information that I had to watch with Jesus was about the civil rights movement. And it was so incredibly sad. And I thought, oh my gosh. But here's the thing. I cried through all of it. But after Jesus and I met and watched all of this, I had to go back in and meet with God, because he wanted to quiz me. So he said, what did you watch? How do you feel? And then he said, and what are you going to do about it? And I said, there's nothing I can do about it. It's already been done. And he said, that's the problem with humanity. You never change unless you're directly affected.
So true.
Using that as the example, humanity was being directly affected, and no one stepped in. So this is where it takes it out of the karmic.
Yeah.
We are the responders of something that's out of alignment with love. How does humanity respond? And so they seem to have corrected themselves or made it into something that's livable. And then the whole message gets dissipated.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah. So my mission now is to help people understand the incredible power of love. And if we don't teach the structure of love, as I've learned it, there is no foundation that is of equal understanding. Humanity needs instruction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with religion.
No, it does not.
Love is not a religion.
No.
And
That's for sure. Yeah, we have to get past the religious aspect, because that's where there's the judgment and the control and the power. And it's, if you don't think this way, you might as well, we're going to kill you. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
And how is killing somebody love? It isn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're violating their free will. You're definitely creating a lot of karma for yourself. It's definitely not the way to, it's not true spirituality.
No, and to get to that mindset, how could somebody get to that mindset?
Oh, exactly.
And how can you not feel
Yeah.
what that would make?
And how could you think that's okay?
Right.
Yeah. How could you possibly think that's the way that you're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Because a lot of religious people, they teach you to fear God. And so to me, that always didn't make any sense, because I'm like, I thought God was love. Why would I fear that? That doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah. I grew up with that too in the Catholic Church. And I couldn't understand why I would fear something that I don't have any proof of. That was my thought.
Yeah.
I don't have any proof of any of you. Okay, yeah, I'm saying the prayers, I'm doing my thing. And I was trying to be a good Catholic, right? And but I didn't have proof. And I didn't understand, like, what was the importance of believing this? Because it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But now I have proof. And there's one more thing that I would love to share with you about what happened to me in heaven. And again, it happened to be with Jesus. And I was walking in heaven. This is after I had I was sitting at God's table, and there were 77 of us sitting there. So there's a whole story on that.
Interesting.
But, yeah, it was very enlightening.
It's an interesting number too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm all about the numbers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 77. That's a powerful number.
It was a powerful group. I
Yeah.
can say that. I was like, what did I just walk into?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
As an atheist, fresh off earth, I felt like I was out of my league.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the warmth and the love that I felt, and the
Mhm.
absolute acceptance and no judgment. There was zero judgment.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, I was inside heaven, and Jesus had approached me and said, "Can we talk for a moment?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And he said, "Megan, what do you still seem to be struggling with?" And I said, "I've been through this in my life. I've been through this in my life." And I start laying it out, what I'd been through. And these are rough times. And he looked at me and he says, "If I were to tell you that every experience in your life is a child within you, what would you do to these children?" And I said, "Evict them immediately. They're old enough and they can take care of themselves." So that's where my head was, because that was so reflective of what I grew up with.
Yeah.
And then he said, "I see we have more to talk about." So then they didn't let me remember the rest of the conversation, but it went on for some time. And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to ask you again. What do you think now about every experience being a child within you? Except keep in mind, every child is you." Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. And it completely shifted the way in which I learned in that moment to respond to my feelings, the world around me, what other people's feelings were, and how they were addressing me or anyone else for that matter. But if there was something that was out of alignment, that was unjust, it doesn't mean to sit back and go ahead, act like that. No, it means step in.
Yeah, step up.
Absolutely. But really important here is that every child needs to be listened to. So it's like learning a different language within yourself. So every child is connected to a fear or a pain of something.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
a happiness,
Mm.
or a oh wow moment.
Yeah.
And so it's like listening to every child and then living in harmony with every one of these emotions and feelings. That's what love is. And that's what it means to really love yourself, is to acclimate to the children within you, because they
Interesting.
don't grow up.
Uh-huh.
That's fresh. It's
Mhm.
always fresh. But they can learn from me as the adult now, as their mother. So I am their mother. And that applies across the board for everybody. So I think that's a really important message.
Wow. So does that mean that we're all actually parents?
It does.
Wow.
It absolutely does.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, because you have to remember, wherever the wound happened first, that's where you're still stuck. That's where that child is. But you want to disconnect from the child.
Yeah.
You just want to go, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
I can move on now. I'm this age and this doesn't apply to my life anymore. I'm out of that living circumstance, whatever it is.
I healed that. I healed that a long time ago, didn't I?
Yeah. Until you address it and until you talk to it. If that means journaling, if that means going for a walk and meditating that way, or talking to a therapist or to your friend, let it come up and surface and really feel it, and then honor that feeling.
Yes, for sure.
Because that feeling is your child. And don't try and shove the child out the door like I would have done.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got to, that child is there to protect you.
Absolutely.
And you just haven't recognized that power within yet.
Yeah.
So there's a love that needs to basically come alive. People need to start learning.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is part of loving yourself. And what is love? The children are a part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. What a beautiful message that you received.
It really was. It's like, it's served me for sure. And definitely helped change my perspective on so many things. And I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah. And when I look at it from like the hand perspective, it's also very fascinating, because one of the most common life lessons is developing emotional authenticity. And that shows up from like the loop fingerprints that a lot of people have. It's very common. I would say it's one of the more popular human choices. I guess I would put it that way, because we choose I believe we choose our fingerprints and we choose our pathway before we come in. So a lot of people are working on this emotional component. And I think you're right. I think most people don't really know how to do it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't even necessarily know that there's a problem. They just think that it's normal to go through life and not sleep every night, or go through life and have high blood pressure, or, like we have these physical symptoms that show up. And then we think, oh, that's normal. And it's not. It's showing an imbalance in some capacity.
Absolutely.
And it's showing up because it's wanting to be healed.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole reason that I got my near-death experience was through an autoimmune disease that I didn't have.
Wow.
And it just showed up. So I know now that I ignored my feelings. I ignored being heard. Because it was not a priority for anybody in my family to listen to what it was I had to say, or whatever, validate me.
Yeah.
And then the things that had happened to me when I was growing up, it's like, it was just pain and more pain. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I got really angry at one point. And I remember, I thought, there's no God. This is all BS. I'm not going down this rabbit hole anymore. This church thing, I'm done. I washed my hands of it. But so I did become an atheist for 18 years. And that's when my NDE happened. But what I'm trying to say is that because I closed off and I held on to all of the anger and rage and the sadness and all these emotions I didn't know what to do with, I didn't know how to address them, they attach to the inside.
Yeah.
It's
They sure do.
very important to address everything as it comes up with gentleness and no judgment of yourself, and be kind to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest problems in the world is people are so hard on themselves and they belittle themselves, and they have that petty little voice in their head that's constantly beating them up. And I see it a lot through my clients and just people I know. And you can tell that they are tortured. They are completely and utterly tortured souls. And it's, to me, that's so heartbreaking. Gosh, how would it be to go through life like that? Like, of course you're going to be not living up to your potential, and not how on earth are you going to hear the higher dimensional realms if you're constantly beating yourself up? Like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So we have to heal that negativity that goes on through the mind. We have to heal the negativity that goes on through the heart, through the voice, right? We beat ourselves up with our talk and how we talk to each other and how we talk to ourselves. And then we have to clean it up. Ultimately, that's what ascending is all about, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about the voice. I will say that in this book that I'm writing and the one that we're working on, I discuss what love means. So L stands for light, which is the soul, the light within. O is for organic, because every one of us is organic to this planet. And no two souls are alike, like your fingerprints.
Exactly.
The V stands for voice. And the voice starts at the moment of your thought's inception. And then the E stands for echo. So what your voice is saying, whether it comes out loud and you talk to somebody or not, it's still echoing inside. And last year, I was awakened in the morning with Archangel Michael telling me there's not enough room in the universe for negativity, so it stays inside of you.
Oof.
And it wasn't just a message for me, because I figured that one out through the whole NDE.
Yeah.
That was a message that clearly heaven was saying, tell everybody this one.
Wow.
You're making yourself sick.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we have to start actually practicing love in order to get better at it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is something that we're literally taught from the time we're born to move away from love. And I certainly, that was my upbringing. My parents were loving. They did a great job. But when you go to school, you know what happens. You have kids that pick on you, that are mean, and then you start to doubt, and then you're graded and you're judged, and it's like, gosh, it's a lot for a poor little kid to go through. Like, they got to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they're certainly not encouraged to be loving.
Isn't that weird? And that love is innate.
Yeah.
That's who we are. The moment we are conceived, we're absolute perfect love.
Yeah.
And when we come into this world, when we're born, we are absolute perfect love. We're not completely jaded by life. Yes,
true.
we pick up our mother's energy through the womb.
For sure.
Yeah, we're connected on huge levels. But that doesn't necessarily define how it is that we're going to go through life. But it will give us a pattern, a beginning pattern we're going to have to work with in our life, like a theme. So there's a little bit of a genetic inheritance there, I think. But I don't know, that's just my theory now.
Yeah.
As a result of what I've learned from the NDE.
It's funny you're bringing up this childhood stuff too, because it's making me think, wow, I think I gave myself asthma as a child because I didn't want to be in competitive sports.
Oh, wow.
So I gave myself asthma so I didn't have to do it.
it out.
because I was such a gentle, kind, sweet little kid. And the thought of being in like a competition where we're throwing, like, I hated dodgeball. I thought that was the absolute worst game in the entire world. I hated it because it's, oh my gosh, these people are trying to kill me with this ball. And I'm supposed to throw a ball at somebody. I don't want to do that.
I loved when it was my turn because my brother, he always beat me up, right? And so I was like, yeah, I can get somebody with a ball and get away with it in a game. I loved it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was like, I want nothing to do with any of these sports.
It's funny.
And so I ended up, yeah, I had asthma until I was about 12. And then I discovered hacky sack. And that's my big brother taught me hacky sack.
Oh,
And I became like a hacky sack champion,
Cool.
which is not something a lot of people know about me. But to me, it was like perfect because I could do it by myself. I wasn't hurting anyone. It wasn't about being better or worse than anyone. It was just like I was just competing against myself. So I followed that path of definitely in the sports world. I always picked like solo sports, like skiing and golfing. I guess golfing can be competitive too, but it's essentially you and the ball.
yes.
It really has nothing to do with what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's, yep, I'm gonna hit that ball, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're off in the other part of the fairway or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that
Anyway,
too.
yeah, so it's interesting. So when it comes to these messages of love, what would you say are like some protocols that people could start to follow? What would you recommend?
Every day, look in the mirror and say, I am love. And let that echo through your body and say it as many times as you can and reprogram. Because here's the deal, here's what we're up against. We are taught in school, like you were discussing, we're taught all of these things, right? So we're taught math, we're taught science, we're taught how to read, we're taught how to write, we're taught
The basic stuff, yeah.
the basic stuff. And yet it's like, how do you teach all of this without teaching every child respect, what that means, loving themselves, what that feels like, helping them get in touch with themselves? Because every child knows that every child is just so perfect and open and raw. And depending on the child's living circumstances, it'll shut them down quicker. And it can shut them off from who they really are. But what we need to do is be an advocate for love, all of us, and mandate that love, the structure of love that I'm teaching, be taught in the school systems and start being vocalized in our world. And rather than say, oh, that's Pollyanna type of thinking or whatever.
It's like, it's not important. Yeah, it's discounted.
And actually, it's the most important thing you can ever do is love. And I've been to heaven. I spent 5 days in heaven. I know from experience, love is it. That's what they're all working for. And actually, we're born to work for heaven. Every single one of us is born to work as a representative of love here on this planet. That's our job.
Yeah.
And I was showing that last year too.
Wow.
Where, we're just to keep the love frequency alive on this planet. That's it. And however and we didn't come in here to be liked by everybody.
That's definitely not going to happen.
Not in my lifetime.
Yeah, I certainly can't expect that.
That's not to say that it cannot happen.
That's true, because we live in a realm of infinite possibilities.
Yes, and if everybody from age 4, when they start going to school, gets taught acceptance is synonymous with love, and keep that as the program throughout their educational program, and keep talking about the structure of love and build on it and explain each year, let it develop further and further, these children are not going to be making choices like some of these insane people of the world are making as quote unquote leaders that are really causing mass destruction, not only on the psychological scale, but literally physically and emotionally. People are being wounded left and right. And it's almost, why are you isolating a certain type of people? Or I feel like there's just this isolation. It's like us against them, and they're different than we are, and blah, blah, blah.
We're all one.
Yeah.
So
we are all the thread of love. We really are.
Yeah. So that's very good advice, and definitely something that parents can, tap into and really connect to. But doing it for yourself too, recognizing that you are love and speaking that every day, I think would make a huge difference, especially if you've got that negative voice that's nonstop. And it's a life lesson. It's one I see all the time in the hands. So we got to turn that around. We got to turn that on its head and essentially recognize that, of course we're good enough, and that's what we are. Oh, and here's Kona showing up saying, I'm love.
Yes, he is. Little love bug.
Yeah, this is my little puppy. Oh, come here, Kona. Oh, you are such a big boy. Yeah, he wants to be in the show today. Oh, you did a good boy. Yeah, puppies are pure love.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Did someone mention love? That's me.
I know. They're so just connected.
Yeah.
So pure.
He is. Yeah. This little guy loves everybody, and he just wants to be part of that love. Are we loving right now?
Oh, he's so cute.
He's a good boy. This is very exciting. I can't wait for your book to come out. And of course, the ways to God too. Are you going to be talking about your experience in heaven?
Not so much, no.
Or what are you going to be talking about in that book?
So I'm introducing the structure of love in the book, like I just shared with you here. And I'm talking about the water.
Oh, yeah, the water. Okay, very good.
Talking about the water, and I share a little smidge about having grown up in the Roman Catholic Church. And I talk about another dark time in my life after I was raped, and I had to make the decision to have an abortion, and I thought I was going to go to hell. So that's what turned me into an atheist. And to sit there in front of God in the first 5 minutes after I find out that this is God I'm sitting with, I had no idea. And he said, oh, what about that abortion? And I thought, oh, I didn't believe in heaven, didn't believe in him or him. And I'm like, I guess this is where I go to hell. And no such thing. I was really nervous though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought, okay, this is where the other shoe is going to drop. And he said, you can't kill a soul. You just set them back here for us to take care of until you were ready for them. So that
interesting.
It is. And so energy never dies.
Right. It just changes form.
And love is an energy. It is perfect energy. And it never dies. And negativity, that can all be wiped out with love.
Yay.
It can. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's
get rid of that crap.
Let's get rid of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Are you guys tired of it yet? Seriously, like I'm so ready for love to be like the dominant force in the world.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah. Really is.
But it starts with each one of us and the individual responsibility. So
yes. And some people I've heard in the work that I do, they say, I don't know how much longer I can take this life. Or why am I here? What's my purpose? It just seems like I go to work, I get up, I do the same thing. It's monotonous, basically.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you're here to serve love. And I say to them, do you think heaven quits? Do you think Jesus goes, how long is this guy going to take?
No.
I was nailed to a cross. As a matter of fact, today's Easter, right? So it's like he was nailed to a cross and he's in heaven. I had to watch.
Yeah.
I got a load from Jesus, but he was like, this is why I came. This is why I came to earth, to wake you all up.
Yeah.
To help you see injustices. And what did we do with it? It got turned into something else.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting turned into something else. And everything that he was preaching was about love. Everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. I think this was a great discussion. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
And please tell everybody, how can they reach you and how can they work with you?
Okay, you can go to conversationswithmegan.com and you'll see my retreats that I offer. I'm having a few lined up this May in Sedona, and I have another one in October. It isn't posted yet, but it's coming. And I have my book information there. I have services I channel messages for heaven. And I'm also teaching the structure of love.
Wow, sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you. Yeah. Thanks thanks everybody for tuning in. And as always, we wish you infinite abundance, and let's ascend together.
Yes. Love.
Thanks for joining us on Life Ascended, where you can discover your divine potential every day. Please show your support by tuning in, following, sharing your comments, and inviting others to listen. Take it further by visiting Ascension17.com for deeper spiritual growth, guidance, programs, and products.